look, it's great to be here. I think this type of forum is a wonderful opportunity, particularly given the time we're going through today and so many critical decisions that are going to have to be taking place over the weeks and months to come. And this is an incredible panel, so this is a great opportunity to have true experts be able to talk about the future of home ownership and housing finance in this country. I just want to make a couple of brief remarks and really turn it over to let the experts in the panel really help drive this discussion. But I want to just give a backdrop to where we are from my perspective, having come into the private sector, into a government role with this administration at this time. And it's really important as we think back to when this president was sworn in, we had 30 straight months of home price declines. America had lost about half of its equity, really on the backs of what I would describe as exploding mortgage products, built on models that prove themselves to not be sustainable over time. And there were survivors and there were those that didn't survive. But the fact of the matter is that we found ourselves faced at a very difficult time, and actually under the previous administration, where the first TARP funds were implemented, and following into this administration, if you think about all the actions that have taken place over the last couple of years, so much of that effort has been around stopping the collapse of the housing market completely, stabilizing Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae into conservatorship, stabilizing the banking system, committing to buy $1 trillion of mortgage-backed securities out of the marketplace so that there was a steady flow of supply of housing finance capital into the market so people could buy homes, first-time homebuyer tax credits, a whole variety of activities that led into things like neighborhood stabilization programs, grants provided to communities to help them take out distressed properties out of the market. This whole kaleidoscope of solutions were really designed to help stem the tide and stem the collapse of this housing market. Quite frankly, I think it's been very successful. And you're seeing economists now begin to talk about the bottom of the market, optimism about growth going forward in this economy. People like Mark Zandi, who was John McCain's chief economist, has made statements to that effect. So it's been a joint cooperative effort between public and private interests working together to try to keep this market flowing. And I think the timing now is really, really very important. FHA has obviously played an important role. We're a large part of certainly the purchase market, a large part of the overall housing market. And quite frankly, as Secretary Donovan has said, and I say over and over, we're too large a part of the market. Our role in the market has to turn back at a minimum to kind of the normalized market share levels that we used to play. And we're playing clearly outside that paradigm right now in a way that's clearly helping to support housing in this country in the absence of private capital. But there comes a point in time where private capital has to re-engage, and you need to think about doing so in a responsible manner with policies that will protect consumers, make sure the capital is in place in a safe and sound manner, that the participants are operating with transparency and regulation that ensures that we won't ever step back into the environment that we just came out of. But without question, we are now thinking about the transition from a role where the government has played an extraordinarily high role in mortgage finance to some future state. And that will become, I think that dialogue and debate and discourse will increase even more so as the administration, as we release the white paper, which is due to be released here in the very near term. So I think that's all fundamental. So the only other couple points I just wanted to emphasize while I'm here is, most analysts will right now expect that we are nearby in the market, whatever that means. But it's now becoming almost a unanimous support for that dialogue that we're near bottom. The question is, where do we go from here? How do we grow out of a market that is really operating at very slow levels? I just went through home sales data for FHA, and I looked at the first 3-quarter reports of the GSEs. And if you look at purchase transactions, particularly if you look at the months of December, in terms of real data going on, refinances are slowing and purchases are remaining relatively slow, and clearly slower than they were during the first part of the year when the tax credit was providing a lot of support for home ownership. what's going to bring the market back in. And the one fundamental demographic that I think is most critical to all of us is this echo boom generation, people born between, some of you I think are in this room, 79 to 95. It's this generation that's several million people larger than the baby boom generation that's going to create the future home ownership market in this country. And creating a safe and sound financial services system that creates confidence for this generation to come back in the market is going to be critical to having a really sustained home purchase market going forward. As I look at this generation, my daughter's one of them, who's a 24-year-old working at a law firm in town. She's scared to death of buying a house. She's watched this thing on the front lines, the shock and awe of coming out of college and seeing the collapse of a housing system. And to bring that confidence in, I think is going to require the collective work of members of Congress, members of government, the private sector, social interests, private interests working together to make sure we get this right, that we put a safe and sound system in place that keeps this market well capitalized but does it in a very, very safe and sound way. So I'd just like to end with just a final couple thoughts. This is really important work. Housing supports almost 20% of the gross domestic product of this country. Decisions made in a vacuum can be very dangerous. It takes, I have 30 years of experience in this mortgage finance system. I've worked with many people here on the panel. S.A. and I have known each other for a long time. We've all worked in this, understanding this industry for a long, long time, understanding the dynamics and how it will impact everything from the borrower at the point of sale making that decision to buy a home and their ability to buy a home and how long it will take them to get there and how policies will impact various demographics within the society and who should rent and who should own. All those policy decisions are critical. But also thinking about what's going to make it operate in a safe and sound manner for the long run. John Corson held an event this week with the Mortgage Bankers Association on the future of servicing. That's a critical dialogue that we're now learning that one thing's for certain. The servicing system worked great when loans were performing, but when they don't perform, at a time like this, it doesn't work so well. And so thinking about from the point of sale all the way through the process of managing that performance over the long term, to the investors who buy these loans, to ensuring capital will flow in a safe and sound manner, to think about home ownership as a sustainable vehicle, and also thinking about rental homes and how we make sure there's a safe and sound supply of affordable rental properties in this country to provide for families that aren't ready to buy a home today. All of this has to be in the dialogue as we think about going forward. So, we have a lot of work to do. You guys play an important role, particularly those of you who work for members of Congress. Being able to really understand, become educated, to help those who have to deal with a multitude of issues to make the best decisions possible is really important. I've told every staff person I meet who works for a member of Congress and every member myself, I make myself available on call anytime to talk about these issues. And we had a productive meeting this morning with many on this subject up here today. These guys are also extraordinary experts, and I think it's a great time for you just to pepper them with questions and challenge them and make sure you are asking the important questions that need to be asked and that your respective bosses would ask or whatever organization you serve. So have a great panel. I'd love to stick around and be there to answer questions, but I can't. So thanks.